Hello and welcome to Africa and Beyond Television Network. And this evening we are taking a look on President Advocate Nelson Chamisa's statement towards Mr. Trabablas Jokerai Mabuno Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa. It's very, very important to look at it as he says it's all Trabablas. We are living in Trabablas times. It's really a Trabablas administration running a Trabablas economy with Trabablas policies and the Trabablas currency, especially after Trabablas elections. And a lot of people are asking questions. What does this statement from President Nelson Chamisa mean? Trabablas Zokerai Mabuno is a fake name of Emerson Mnangagwa. So that is not his real name. It's a fake name which he gave himself to deceive people. So when you hear him talking about being Trabablas, naming the Mbudzi interchange Trabablas Kanayapera, the meaning of the name is this highlighting right here. He's highlighting a man who has failed, a man who has been deceiving everyone, and a man who is running a false economy. So if you look at the kind of policy in Zimbabwe, it's a fake policy. A policy centered at looting, a policy centered on individualism, a policy centered on ndinindineyes. That is what Emerson is doing. That is the reason why you see they are not providing meaningful policies. They have given my MPs more cars, 2 cars. In a space of a year, my MPs are 2 motorcars. My allowances, all these things are happening at the expense of the masses, at the expense of you, at the expense of me, at the expense of us. So President Nelson Chamisa is raising a very important issue right here. And the elections which were held last year, they are bogus elections, they are false elections. There was no election whatsoever, according to the Constitution of the Republic of Zimbabwe. So as the name itself, Trabablas, that is what is happening. We have a currency, a false currency. This, which they call strongest currency, does not work. It doesn't buy anyway. They don't even want it. Several times, presented US dollars publicly. Van Vesevachuona is a man who is using a false currency in Zimbabwe, and he ends up using my US dollars so as to cover up. Because I was that Maria Kaitengi. Vakomana vebhora vakanowina ndokubva uya ndokubva vapa mayusi. Vakomana verugby vakanowina ndokubva uya ndokubva vapa mayusi. Why are you giving them US dollars when you have a functional currency? It's a clear confirmation that we are living in the times of fakeness, in the time of deceivers. So there is something which is very important right here, which we need to take a look upon, because President Nelson Chamisa has a habit of ironing out several key important issues, and he did just that. So we are going to look at it and then understand, because we always look at the questions asked, and then we try to find the responses being given right here. So somebody asked the President Nelson Chamisa and said, yes, my president, Trabablas all over, but 2028 we shall behold the new. And he has taken time to straighten up this position and says, the country is in pain. We are roasting and stewing. Zimbabweans from all walks of lives are suffering. We don't have the luxury of time. 2023 did not happen. Therefore, we have no 2020 to talk about. Until we resolve the 2023 elections dispute, we can't have another election under the same disputed circumstances, same disputed conditions, and same disputed referees. Insanity is doing the same thing all over again and expecting different results. So this is true. We have tolerated this regime far enough, and it's time, high time, the people of Zimbabwe reclaim what belongs to them. And it's very, very important. So Pastor Tom says, do you have an inclusive working plan to resolve the 2023 dispute, my president, or is just Trabablas all the way to yet another disputed 2020 election while we continue roasting and stewing. And we have figured it all. We have figured all out and lined up. So this is something which is very important. I can tell you one thing, that there is something which is going to happen. For those who understand times, there is something which is going to happen. And very, very soon, the people of Zimbabwe shall realize that what is being rejected by others is something which is very, very important. Advocate Nelson Chamisa's power shall be seen one day. You know, one of the days I was looking at a certain point in time, he was in parliament then, years back. It was, I think, during GNU. You know, there is a day when he was angry, and you could look at his face and how ZANU-PF people were trembling. So, vakomana chokwadi chaizvo, Mnangagwa knows what Chamisa can do. That is the reason why he's trying by all means to use force, to use the military and everything else. And by Nelson Chamisa delaying his moves, he exposed the Emmerson Mnangagwa so much. Now that there is no longer any scapegoat, what is he going to say? What is he going to do? So it's very, very important to note that there is no 2023 to talk about. We have said it times without numbers. And time will tell. Time will tell. Zimbabwe shall come to a point where it will be very, very peaceful. Zimbabwe shall come to a point where it will be the safest country in the African region or in the SADC region. So it's very, very interesting to see that President Nelson Chamisa remains very active, and he remains promising in terms of the future. There is hope. The people of Zimbabwe want change, and the people of Zimbabwe have contained themselves. They have behaved themselves. They are eagerly waiting for that day. And I always say, hakuna msusi ngasviki. Ukaona kumba kwenyu kune makuva. Those people wanted to leave, but because of time, they vanished. That is what is going to happen. ZANU-PF will go. No matter the circumstances, whether they like it or not, ZANU-PF will go. And the day it will go, apart from the application, meeting, ZANU-PF, it will simply go kana zuva rairasvika. And it's very, very close. So it's very, very, very interesting moments ahead. Petronella, thank you very much for coming. My brother Michael, thank you very much for coming. Says and the Zimbabweans are not suffering. If we were suffering, we're going to demonstrate. You know what, Mkoma Michael? You don't underestimate God. When God wants you to go in a certain direction, no matter how you try by all means possible, you won't go another way around. God is God. Things are done according to the will of God. They are there to serve a purpose. They are there to serve a purpose. And where we are going right now, there are events which have happened. Several events which have happened, which we foresaw in the past. What it means is, where we are going to get into a phase of transition. We are already into that phase of transition. But it's just a matter of time. You will see when the day comes, kuti there will be a separation. Mboko zichenda kusaiduku, vanhu kwavo vachienda kusaiduku, and Zimbabwe shall be left free. So we remain committed to the struggle. We continue to fight, and one day ZANU-PF shall fall.